In 2015, we get the fifth Mission Impossible film, Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, directed by Christopher McQuarrie, starring Tom Cruise, Simon Pegg, Rebecca Ferguson, and Jeremy Renner. This film is about how Ethan Hunt and his team have to take down, eradicate a rogue group of international agents known as the Syndicate, which are just as skilled as the IMF. So we're going to talk about this film and if you, as a Christian, should watch it right now. Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I am your host Tim and we exist to help Christians live in the world, not of the world, by utilizing our convictions in the movies and shows we watch. Mission Impossible Rogue Nation is rated PG-13 for some sequences of action and violence and some brief partial nudity. So we're going to go over any convictions you might have in watching this film, give you any theological themes present in Rogue Nation, and wrap it up with a personal review from yours truly. Without further ado, let's head into the Christian Conviction Meter. If this is your first time here, the Christian Conviction Meter is a series of 5 convictions that may distract you or prevent you or hinder you from your relationship with Jesus. We don't want to do that, so these are things to be wary of in watching this film. There's violence and gore, lust, profanity, substances, and intense/horror sequences. So without further ado, let's dive into our first category. When it comes to the violence and gore level of this film in particular, the action is very much still the same. There's a lot of hand-to-hand combat, some shootings, explosions. There is a sequence though where a person is shot in the back of the head. There is no blood or gore, kind of similar to Ghost Protocol in that sense, but that does take place within the film. In terms of actual blood or gore, there really isn't all that much contained within the film. There's some cuts, scrapes, stuff like that, but there isn't any major blood issues within this film. At the same time too, it has your basic action PG-13 for violence. So we're going to give this a 3 out of 5 for this category. Moving on to our next category, lust. This has a little bit more than any of the other Mission Impossible films we've covered so far. Mainly coming from Rebecca Ferguson's character. She is shown within a scene to be wearing a bikini in preparation for a task that is handled within the film. But of course, there also is a scene where she's kind of turned just a little bit, but her back is shown as she's taking off a wet shirt to put on a new outfit. She is shown, so there is a little bit of side cleavage there, but other than that, there really isn't any specific sensuality contained within the film. And other than this scene in particular, there is no parts showing and no nudity specifically outside of this. So that is the area of where all this kind of resides. I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5 to be on the safe side. Moving on to substances, there is no mention of drugs or anything of the sort. No hardcore alcohol or anything of that sort. There is a couple glasses of wine in the film, but there is no drinking of wine, none of that. It's just kind of sitting on a table as some people have a conversation. This we're going to give a 0 out of 5 because there's no one actively using any substance. We're going to give this a 0 out of 5. Our next category, profanity, actually is quite surprising for the Mission Impossible franchise, namely because of the fact that there's only really 3 kind of curse words used within the film. DA, SH words are used, and then hell is used as well, but they're used only a handful of times for each one, and so it definitely is surprising. It's more kind of laid back in terms of its use of profanity. We're going to give this a 2 out of 5 here, once again with just the curse words that are used, but again, they really aren't used all that much throughout the film, so you may not even notice some of them. In our last category, intense and horror sequencing. This is not a horror film, so there is no horror scenes contained within the film. On top of that, there is, of course, explosions. There's a lengthy car chase that does end in the car getting really damaged and flipped over. So there is that, as well as some motorcycle chasing, stuff like that that's contained within the film. There is also a intense water sequence of just trying to accomplish a mission. Don't want to get into spoiler territory for it, but there is that where it almost looks like one of our characters is drowning, and so that is something to keep in mind. But other than that, as well as a kind of scene where a guy pulls out like a torture bag, but he doesn't use it within the film. I do want to preface that there is the bag, but he doesn't use the stuff within the bag. Other than that, there really isn't much anything else here in terms of just intense sequencing. We're going to give this one also a 3 out of 5. This brings our total of the conviction meter to a 11 out of 25, just like the last film. Even though I missaid it, it is an 11 out of 25 on the conviction meter, so a little under halfway, but we're kind of close to that area. Again, if there are convictions that you have that you say, oh, I don't really want to watch this film because of this, keep in line with your convictions. Don't do something just because someone is trying to peer pressure you or you feel the pressure to watch it. Again, your convictions are there for a reason. They're God-given, so we want to make sure that you continue to follow Jesus to the best of your ability, not hindering that. So that is something to keep in mind. Speaking of Jesus, though, let's go over some theological themes that are present within Rogue Nation. And I'll be honest, I don't know why I set it up like that, because there really is nothing. There is no theological themes present, contained with, or a part of Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. There's nothing here about Jesus, about the Bible, about Christianity, the church, none of that. And let's wrap this up with a personal review of Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. Overall, this is a solid, enjoyable film. The idea of the Syndicate being on the same level as the IMF and just this kind of broader network is actually really, really cool, and I think a really solid idea that I wish we got to spend a little more time with, because I think they would have been a really formidable opponent if we got, maybe one more movie with them. Just my personal opinion, though. Overall, I do think it's solid. There is a subplot here in the film about the IMF being dismantled, and it's done fine, but coming off the heels of Ghost Protocol, it feels just a tad too quickly. On top of that, it's great to see Ving Rhames back once again in a more prominent role as Luther. He definitely was missing in Ghost Protocol, and Rebecca Ferguson's character of Ilsa is a great addition to the Mission Impossible franchise. It has the action, the suspense, the adventure we love about the Mission Impossible films, and overall, it's a solid movie with a few twists and turns here and there, but I do think it's a bit of a step down from Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. It's not to say this is a bad movie by any means, because it is not. It's enjoyable. I think it's just hard to compete when that so far has been the best of the franchise. This takes a step back, but not too far back, and ultimately will set us forward into really the rest of the Mission Impossible films, because Christopher McQuarrie would take over to direct the rest of the Mission Impossible franchise going forward. So his style is definitely very present, and it's the start of that sort of style we see, and it's done very well. So overall, it's a really solid, enjoyable film, a great time to be back in the Mission Impossible universe. This is going to be a 8.2 out of 10. So on the Christian conviction meter, it's a 11 out of 25. It's an 8.2 out of 10 in our personal review. There's no theological themes present within the film, but those are my thoughts, so let me know yours down in the comments below. Let's talk all things Mission Impossible Rogue Nation down below, and while you're down there, consider hitting the like and subscribing, all that good stuff. It just helps us to send out into the algorithm, allows us to reach more Christians so they can utilize their convictions in the movies and shows they watch so they can follow Jesus better. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend time with us here. We truly appreciate it. It means the absolute world to us. And with that being said, if you want to check out more of our content, we have a few videos over here that you can check out, including our review of Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. Without further ado, we'll see you all in the next one.